You want to know what it's like to be a victim of Jeffrey Epstein's?
Hello? Oh my goodness, like voice from the past.
This is what it's like for Virginia Roberts Giuffre.
I wanted to talk to you about like some of the stuff that you might remember.
She is still doing what she's been doing for nearly a decade. Trying to get some of the people who witnessed Epstein's massive sex trafficking operation to come forward and help her tell the world what happened.
Can I just come in and have like a cup of coffee with you? Would that be okay?
What did he just say?
Okay, so would you meet me somewhere for lunch? No. Okay.
He hung up. Welcome to the Tara Palmeri Show. Some of you may not know this about me, but I spent over a year investigating Jeffrey Epstein's massive sex trafficking operation of children for 2 investigative podcasts, Broken Jeffrey Epstein and Power the Maxwells. And the reason I played that short clip from Broken was that so you could hear what it was like for Virginia Giuffre to prove her story and the stories of her survivor sisters. There are so many conspiracies out there about her death, her suicide. Even those closest to her are exploiting her in her death, like her estranged father, Sky Roberts, who she hasn't spoken to in years, but who Piers Morgan had on his show.
For them to say that she committed suicide, there's no way that she did. Somebody got to her.
And that's why I wanted you to hear in her voice what it was like for her to tell her story, what it was like for her to prove her story and the stories of her survivor sisters, what it was like for her to stand up for justice, to be constantly told over and over again that you don't matter, that you don't exist, denials, denials, denials. And she's up against some of the most powerful people in the world, like Prince Andrew, who she had photographic evidence with, but he still denies that he ever met her. She faced that rejection every single day. She has been beating the drum about Jeffrey Epstein for decades. She has been trying to tell people about his massive sex trafficking operation of children even before people were willing to accept that it was real. And Virginia was there alone. She really was. And it was really, really hard. She had already dealt with a lifetime of sexual abuse. But then she was out there telling her story and reliving that trauma over and over again and being rejected over and over again. And I saw up close what the emotional toll was on her because we crisscrossed the country finding witnesses who could corroborate her story, who could say, yes, Virginia, I remember you. I saw that. I'm sorry I looked the other way, but I'm ready to do the right thing and help you now. It was incredibly depressing, the number of times these cowards just turned away from her. But she was so hopeful. She was relentless, actually. She was just so focused on a fight for justice because she believed it was bigger than her. It was about her survivor sisters, the pain that they felt, and making sure that it never happened again. And Virginia and I became incredibly close. I admired her. We spoke back in February, and, it was really hard for her. Her life was always difficult. She chose this path. She was a warrior. Without her testimony and the witnesses of the people that we spoke to, there is no way that Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who ran Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation, would be in prison right now. And she's the only one. His rich and powerful friends who took part in the abuse and sexual assault of children, none of them have faced justice. And that's why I spoke to some of Virginia's survivor sisters for this episode, because we want to make sure that the story of Virginia's life isn't overshadowed by the conspiracies about her death. Because what she would want is for justice to go forward. She would want more people to have to answer for this. She would want to make sure that it never happened again. Marijke Chartouni and Maria Farmer are on the show today, and we're going to talk about Virginia's life, who she really was, what her essence was. For all the people who are trying to say she was something else. She was a tireless advocate for the vulnerable, a brilliant communicator, a wonderful mother, and a true friend. Maria, Marijke, thank you guys for joining the show. This has obviously been a very devastating past few days ever since Virginia took her life. And, I thought this would be a really good opportunity for all of us to talk about her and what she stood for, what her mission was in life, and like how she would want to be remembered, especially since so much stuff is out there right now on the internet. And it just feels like it would be like a way to honor her and for people to really understand from what I've seen up close, at least, like a person who really sacrificed their own, happiness in a lot of ways to make sure that there was justice for a number of other people, and that like she really pushed herself and fought so hard for, like decades and was not heard for so long. Finally, people took her story seriously. But even then, she still tried to get justice, and like that was her life's work. And it just was not easy as a person, like to be constantly, being told by the most powerful people in the world that you're a liar and you're wrong and this and that. And so many people just like still for some reason don't understand what that would be like. And I'm just like, on top of the sexual abuse, to be then told that your story is not a real story, and for so long it's just like you're being told that you're like not a person. And I don't see how people don't see the kind of like mental exhaustion and abuse that is. It's like being re-abused in so many ways.
I have to say that none of this case, this is important that the public knows this, and that that Virginia's children know this, that none of this case would have happened at all if it weren't for Virginia. And I do mean alone, Virginia. Not me, not my sister, not anyone else. Virginia did this. And for the longest time, Brad would say, oh, credit me, And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, no, this is about Virginia did this. You're just a lawyer who assisted her. But Virginia is the force behind all this. She's the only reason I came forward. So for 23 years, I did not come forward because I was being harassed by these people, Maxwell and the Royal, those people. And they're still harassing. And I didn't want to come forward because of it. And then Sigrid McCauley told me what happened to Virginia. Because I didn't know. Because I had read online all this garbage. And here's me, like the person who reports the whole case. But I didn't know her. This is in like 2017.
Right. And the web was so big, and Epstein had all these locations, and this happened over so many decades that like it was almost impossible to know each other in a lot of ways. And that kind of allowed him to keep going. Right.
Right. Well, I tried to prevent that. I reported it in 96.
Right.
And the FBI came back to me in 2006 and told me about Virginia, but didn't tell me her name. But they told me about her. And and then they told Annie. Okay. So this is what's so important. It's that I would never have come forward if Sigrid had not told me Virginia's story. I was so, it rocked my whole world. Because here I thought I had done something, like reported these people and that they were being dealt with. And the FBI, when they came to me in 2006, again, did not name her, but told me some of the story. And they told me all those adult females that harmed her, all of them, including Maxwell and others, all of the men, they'll all go to prison, Maria. You and Annie just need to testify in a federal trial. And then they gave the sweetheart deal. And then Virginia continued fighting. And what's so important to me that people understand is that when Brad found me in hiding, there was no way in heck I was going to come forward and use my name. I'm old. I was very sick. There's just I hid for 23 years. There's nothing for me to gain. Right. And people don't understand that she had nothing to gain by coming forward. People think she did it for money. They think she did it for, are you kidding me, fame? She did it to save children. And Sigrid told me that when her daughter was born, Virginia looked at her and said, I have to fight now. And that's when she started fighting. It had nothing to do with anything else. So all these people who vilify, Annie testified against Maxwell. Maxwell is in prison because of Virginia. Brunel is dead because of Virginia, because Virginia went to Paris. And while she was there, she learned how to paint more magnificently than anyone at my graduate school. And so she was everything, right? And she was
incredibly talented and an incredibly articulate person. And in a way, I mean, the way that she could speak and like communicate, I mean, she one of the best communicators I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, like a journalist. It's
amazing.
amazing.
I mean, even better, honestly. She was really she had a gift. And I don't think she graduated from high school.
No,
I think
she was self-educated.
Self-educated. And you talk about the money part. you talk about the money part, and it's like having spent time with her, traveling around the country. It's like,
care.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, the money didn't seem to care. Like, she would give people money on the street. She didn't care. It didn't seem like that to me at all. It really felt like she was truly motivated by justice, and she had this strong connection with animals and children, and she really. She was just hoping like that her life had some meaning after all of that. That was what I thought. And I really got to know her well. And she suffered. Like, she really suffered for trying to make her life mean something bigger than her.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia was one of the reasons I came forward, and she just emitted such amazing strength and beauty, and she had this amazing authenticity about her that not many people have. That makes sense.
I think, she was so articulate, one of the best communicators I've ever met, didn't graduate from high school, self-taught, brilliant woman. And yet, I mean, the truth is that like we know about things in life because of stories, right? We tell stories to warn each other, to share information. And I don't think the Epstein story would have ever made it out there if not for Virginia.
It never
and her
would have.
insistence on telling that story over and over and over again, no matter how painful it was. Like, driving by the houses, we went to Juan Alessi's house together. The man who was driving girls back and forth, and the houseman who saw it all, and like she would listen to him and ask him questions and be willing to like listen to him, even like cover for himself. And yet she was just so happy to bond with him. I almost felt bad for her that was like all she wanted was like a little piece of humanity from people while they were clearly still like covering for themselves. And I don't know, like in so many ways, like she's so much more forgiving.
She was so forgiving. I need to
Yeah.
chime in on that. She was so forgiving because, with Juan Alessi, like his son, they contributed to my suffering greatly, that whole family. And it was just unbelievable what the things that those people did. So basically, I can't forgive them, right? And I look at Virginia and I would always worry, like, is this going to collapse in on her? Because I just have to go and scream into my pillow about these people. I've tried for 3 decades to forgive them, and it's not actually within me. It's not my job, I realized, because I just can't. But she was so loving, and she was willing to forgive.
Yeah, and honestly, I do think that the way that she came to Juan asking for help and being like that instead of like up in arms with like her fist up, it really helped because he ended up testifying and helping the case. Like he was the reason that Maxwell's behind bars right now. So like she understood the long game in a lot of ways. Like she really understood that like putting herself second would be the best way to make sure that the story was told, that justice would be served.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, she was first. She was first for all of us. And I want her children to know that. I want everyone to understand that this entire case, no one would know about Jeffrey. I got to say this, podcast people that are on the alt-right that are they're gang stalking. Okay. And they've said the worst things about this case and about us. But the thing is, not one of them would have been able to feed off of us. And in this case, if Virginia hadn't come forward. And I just want all of them to know that yes, they've harmed us the whole time. And now she's not here. And so, I'm very not forgiving of that, but it's not that. It's that I'm just so proud of her that she was able to overlook so much of the garbage and people who, tried to kind of take over the case and didn't have any experiences with Epstein, things like that,
Yeah. People who tried to take her story from her.
Right.
And I agree. I think, I think she saw the importance, though, of doing all of those interviews, going through all of that bloody, like, interrogation, all of it. Like, she sat down with every network. A lot of networks didn't want to talk to her. And this was before, it finally came out in a way that was public, but it was in court documents for so long. I mean, he went to prison. People knew this. And he was still allowed in high society for so long, even despite, paying, as they said, paying for a underage prostitute, as if a child could be a prostitute. And like, high society accepted him. And Virginia was like, no, during this whole time. No one would listen to her. It's a documented thing that Virginia has been telling this story
Yes,
forever.
forever. And, in 2006, when Nesbitt Kirkendall, the FBI detective or person, asked me to testify in a federal trial. I'm sick of people saying that I've never been asked to testify, by the way. I didn't testify in that last trial because I was undergoing cancer treatment and was on my
Yeah.
deathbed. But I'm tired of people discrediting Virginia and myself. And anyway, I'm
I mean,
sorry.
it was
I
her
interrupted.
court documents that essentially
That's right.
helped back up
The
that
whole case.
trial. And
That's
then
right.
also, even now, I mean, we can talk about this later, but
Oh, I know what I was going to say about Nesbitt. I'm sorry, I have brain damage, and I just need to
it's
interrupt and
okay.
say
Like,
this.
maybe Marijke, like, yeah, what were you thinking about the trial, like the Maxwell trial when you saw it?
I mean, it was a hard trial to watch, so,
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
what I think, Maria, I thank you and your sister for
Yeah.
helping us get
the rest
justice.
Yeah. I mean, Virginia really saw the entire community of survivors as sisters. Like, she
Yes.
literally would like call
She
her
was
them
amazing.
her survivor sisters.
sisters.
Exactly. And she had, she was known for her beautiful butterfly. And like,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, that was what she wanted to be seen as, someone who could, evolve. And like, so many people who have gone through what Virginia has gone through in her life, from even the youngest of age to like, a lot of them would become cruel, psycho,
Oh, yeah.
evil people. And instead she's become a butterfly. And it's like, it's a really like kind of a beautiful analogy in a lot of ways.
No, she was very nurturing and just, had this incredible sweetness about her.
Yeah. We spoke a few months ago. That was the last time I spoke to her. I don't know the last time you ladies spoke to her. I spoke to her in February because I saw that, the Epstein case came out. Not the case, but there were allegedly these binders, that the White House had put out. And then, I looked through them and I was like, these are basically Virginia's court documents. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and you're just packaging them up as if they're some sort of classified material.
Right.
They're public. And it felt like an exploitation of her.
It was.
And like,
It was.
yeah. Yeah.
Krauss, the woman who went to the White House to accept those binders, had just written the worst hit piece on Virginia, and then wrote another one after she took the binders. And she's been trying to kill us for a few years now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Virginia, like, she told me she really hoped for more. She hoped that this administration would be more transparent with the Epstein case. And I'm just, we'll see if that happens. But there was a deadline that followed that, and nothing has happened. I don't know.
But I reported Trump, right? And she was recruited from Mar-a-Lago. So it'd be really hard for this administration to be. And they're hanging out with Hervey, and they hired Krauss. So it's just there's no hope with this administration. Yeah. Sorry.
I think she was hopeful. I mean, she hoped Elon Musk too would help her.
Yeah.
She always like had this kind of way of looking at people, even though, yeah, you're right, that she was hired from Mar-a-Lago, or at least seen all on the grounds of Mar-a-Lago by Ghislaine Maxwell. I think at the end of the day, she really did believe that that these people would ultimately want to help her, and that would outweigh any sort of reputational damage or anything like that. She really like tried to see the best in everyone and like tried to believe that they would help her.
She was a good person.
Yeah.
I just want her kids to know that they knew, but I'm saying I want her to know that we saw that she was just a really great person.
Yeah.
Just in every way.
Yeah. I remember we were having a really hard time getting people to talk when we were traveling around, and I felt really depressed. It's just really not fair for me to feel sad because like it's not about me. I'm just the journalist. And she's like, I know, let's play a song. And so she puts on Let It Go, which I think is from some like Disney movie. I don't have children, obviously. And it was like, let it go, let it go. And we're just like blasting it, driving around with the roof, like all the windows open. And she was just
That's
like,
cute.
she just had such a kind
Joy.
of like, joy and a lightness about her.
Joy.
Yeah, you remember Marijke, like she really kind of like could handle the blows in a way that most people can't. Like she's just such a fearless person.
Yeah, she had great resilience.
Yeah. And that's actually the type of person you need to lead a movement like this. And that's why, we'll see who steps into that void. But like to lose her is really, I don't think people really quite understand. Like
They don't understand yet.
Yeah.
It feels to me like when Lady Diana died, it feels that profound. And see, the world doesn't know yet, but it is that profound. And so the loss is so significant for the survivor community. It's so significant for her children and for everyone who loved her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's really true. Yeah, I mean, I hope that they continue to work on this. I just think it took like such a personal toll on her, and it really makes me upset to see all these conspiracy theories come out.
Oh, I know. It's sickening.
It really
sickening.
is.
It's so disrespectful.
It really
it's just so
is.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
Again, it's those podcast people that are right wing. They're crazy people. It has nothing to do with politics even. It just has to do with this MAGA thing where they just,
Yeah.
everything's a conspiracy. All of it
Yeah.
is a conspiracy somehow. And we gave
It's
up
not
our,
actually a conspiracy. This is a
That's
bad
right.
person who
right.
abused powerless people.
That's right.
And this has been this has happened throughout time, but never at this scale. And powerful people were involved in it. It's not really a conspiracy.
Yeah,
The fact
why
that
do
it
they
was
have to
never-
keep becoming like president?
Yeah,
Do you know
the
what I
fact
mean?
that it wasn't exposed is a reflection of our justice system and the fact that powerful people are treated differently. But this is not a conspiracy. And it's just
Not
like
a conspiracy.
it makes me really, I mean, the conspiracy of a cover up, sure. There's a
Yes.
conspiracy within the government
Yes.
to cover it up, but I don't know. It just
It's like
makes me
people when they say that Epstein's still alive. It makes me really angry because I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you doing
They
that?
just take it to
right?
that like whole other level, and it's really
Ridiculous.
upsetting because I don't think it honors her.
It doesn't.
And she didn't even talk like that. She wasn't very conspiratorial. She was
No.
pretty much like, she was very factual, in fact.
Factual. Right.
Yeah. She was like, this is what happened. This is what was said.
Yes.
I took notes. I have this. I have that.
Yeah.
She wasn't like, oh, and then, it was like,
Yeah. No.
it was
Yeah.
really, yeah. And it in a lot of ways, it was really grounding in a situation that is so hard to be grounded in because it's unfathomable, like the level of abuse, but like her ability to like stay grounded was again, like, yeah, it's what drove this whole,
She had the health issues. I think maybe Marijke could talk on that about the health because she knows about, things
yeah.
that impacted her.
Yeah, I mean, she suffered a lot, from all the abuse, and, I'd rather just remember her for, the wonderful, beautiful person she was than
Yeah.
talk about anything personal.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you like get to know someone too, I mean, it's a matter of like honoring her in a way that would feel right for her. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I think she's been through enough pain and like, it's
I was just bringing up the health thing because I found it amazing that she had her own health struggles.
Yeah.
And yet she and Marijke formed a GoFundMe for me when they were dealing with the case so that I could survive cancer. So I just think that's kind of amazing of her.
That's
Yeah,
the
that was her idea,
sisterhood.
too.
She's so selfless. And that's the amazing thing about this. And like, I came to see that. And I was so amazed at how much you guys took care of each other and really like, and you're in all different parts of the world. She's in Australia, totally different time zone. Marijke, you're in Seattle. Maria, where are you right now?
I can't say right now because of the
Okay.
stalkers, but I am going to tell
You're
you that
somewhere
I'm
else.
yes,
I'm in
I'm
New
somewhere
York.
else, but
Yeah, they were
I'm
all
very old. That's the other thing is that I'm 55 years old, and these were younger girls, and so that really reiterates how bad the government is. That's so important to me because Virginia was always supporting the survivors, but she was also fighting the government.
Yeah.
Like I don't think people understand that.
The people that she was up against and the way that she carried herself forward
incredible.
without fear, it was like it really was fear. It was amazing. But like the interesting thing is when I would talk to her, and I don't know about you, Marijke, or you, Maria, she never said to me, they're out to get me. Like, I never heard her ever once say that, like, oh, the government's going to get me or they're out to get me. I just never sensed that sort of like paranoia from her, whether they were or whether they weren't. I mean, it wasn't like she kind of like didn't really make it about her in a weird way. Like, you really had
Not
to
at
like
all.
get her to open up to talk about it. It wasn't something
And
that
meanwhile, she was the whole case. I mean, I
know.
can't even overstate it. People
Yeah.
will see. They'll see.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I don't know if you want to say any last things about Virginia, but I really appreciate both of you for coming on and talking. I felt like it would be, I think, it felt important to share with the world like the truth about her in an honest way from people who know her and loved her.
Yeah, I'm just grateful for the time I had with her. I really miss her.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm also grateful that I got to encounter such an amazing human being, and I'm very selfishly grieving.
It's not selfish to grieve. It's okay. I want to read the note that she left. This is according to her family, just as a way to end this. Mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers need to show the battle lines are drawn, and we stand together to fight for the future of victims. Is protesting the answer? I don't know, but we've got to start somewhere. And that sounds like Virginia. I mean, she
Positive.
always uniting and positive and not divisive. It's amazing. Yeah, she was a really special person. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you,
Appreciate
dear.
it.
Thank you for joining me on this episode. The work that I did on Broken Jeffrey Epstein has been the most important work of my career. It was a privilege and an honor to know Virginia. May she rest in peace. The Tara Palmeri Show is still a new show, but you can support it by following, rating, and sending this to your friends. You can find more of my journalism on YouTube at Tara Palmeri, that's TaraPalmeri, where you can watch the show, and at tarapalmeri.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter, The Red Letter. See you again this week.